Hi, welcome back to Mystery Quilts Anonymous and our Crossroads YouTube tutorial. We are going to be working on Clue 1 today. We're going to be making some half square triangles. I've already made some for you so you can see what we're going to be doing. In the clue, you're going to be making half square triangles and cutting some 2.5-inch squares, which I've already done for you here. But I'm going to now do the second strip, because I tell you to cut 2 strips. I cut 1 strip and did these. So now I'm going to cut the second strip and I'm going to show you how I did these. In the clue, I gave you 2 options. I'm going to be demonstrating both of these options in this clue. So we're going to need our background and our fabric 3. So let's grab those. This is my background. We're going to be cutting 2 7/8-inch strips. I'm going to have you cut 2, but since I've already cut 1 and done it, I'm going to cut just 1 to show you how I do it. All right, my end needs straightened up a little bit, so go back to clue, the fabric requirements and straightening up, and you can see how I straighten these up. For right now, I'm just going to straighten this up quickly. And now I'm going to cut my 2 7/8-inch strip, which I'd like for you to see very closely here. So we've got 1 inch, 2 inches, and then we want the 7/8 of an inch here. I'm foregoing 1 thread bigger. Okay, so I'm lining up the bottom down here on my 1/2 inch line to make sure that's straight, and then the 7/8 of an inch going all the way up. But if you can see, I go 1 little thread past. That way when I sew, I don't have to worry about my scant 1/4 of an inch. I can just sew with a good 1/4. So there's my 2 7/8 inch of my background. Doing the same with color 3. 2 7/8 inch, straightening this up a little bit first. Sorry, guys, my nose is running. My husband just mowed the grass, and my allergies are giving me fits. Straightened up, 2 7/8. Remember, 1 little hair bigger, and straightening across the bottom. And away we go. Okay, now I ask you to turn it, to do it into 2 7/8-inch squares. So I cheat and do this all together. I have a sharp blade on, so I know I can get through 4 layers. So I'm just going to do this 4 layers, making sure everything's straight. It'll cut much easier this way. First, I'm going to cut off that selvage, lining up a line so that I know that everything is straight, making sure the whole selvage is off the end. Away it goes, and we proceed to cut 2 7/8 inches along the way. I'm just going to cut a few of these so I can show you what we're doing, and then I'll come back and finish them later for the project. That'll be enough. All right, for option 1, I tell you to draw a line on the lighter of your 2 fabrics. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I've already got my ruler and my pen. So I'm going to draw a line on the back of my lighter fabric, diagonally like that. Just so you can see it is all that matters. So I'll do 2 this way. Mate those up. 1, 2, and then for option 2, I tell you to mate them right sides together. And actually, instead of drawing on that triangle, I tell you to cut, on that diagonal, pardon me, I tell you to cut on that diagonal. And then we're just going to sew up that seam. For this one, I want you to be very careful, because when you sew this edge here, remember, you're sewing on the bias and you don't want that stretch. So we'll just cut this one and then we'll move to the sewing machine. There we go. All right, we're going to do option 1 at the sewing machine first, because that's the foot I have on my sewing machine. All right, you're going to want your line, and I know where my 1/4 of an inch is. My 1/4 of an inch is about right here on this, so I'm going to put my line right there, so my needle is going to go 1/4 of an inch away from my line. So I'm just going to feed these 2 through. Keeping my needle down, it's easier for me. And when I get to the end, I run right off the end, and then I actually just flip them around and go right back down the other side, keeping it on my 1/4 of an inch line. And away we go. Okay. Now, let me do a quick changearoo. I'm going to get my 1/4 of an inch foot, and I will show you how to do these other 2. Oopsie, my thread caught in there. We don't want that. There we go. Okay, I have a leader project going, so keep those going through. And for these, remember, you are sewing on the bias. You're actually sewing on the bias with these as well, but it's harder to stretch because you're still sewing on a square. But for this one, you actually are sewing on your bias. So you really want to let your machine just do the work itself. You're kind of just guiding it through there. Don't stretch or pull, because then you're going to have wonky half square triangles. Two more and we'll be finished with these, and then we will take them over to the ironing board. Okay. Actually, we're not going to take them to the ironing board. We're going to take the first 4 and we're going to throw them on the ironing board. But these here, we need to take back to our cutting table. So let's do that first. We'll head to the cutting table. Sorry guys, I stopped at the ironing board with those other ones. All right, now I've layered these 2 on top of each other, lining up those corner lines like that, and making sure these bottom corners are lined up. I do this a lot, so I'm going to cut these both at the same time. You might want to stick with one until you're comfortable. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see that the end of my ruler is on the line, but I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I do it upside down, if you can see through. When I'm on the diagonal, you can see that my 1/4 inch line is on those seams. So that's really cool. So I did a good job on my 1/4 inch lines. Let's just cut that while we're there. Now let's head to that ironing board. Now our half square triangles look exactly alike now, so it really doesn't matter how you do them. All right, I like to press toward the dark, and you also have two options now. Your first option, number one, is to just go ahead and trim up those seams. So you'll find the corner, and you're going to go at a 90-degree angle from there. Okay, let's do that a couple more times. Okay, and your second option is to do it once you've ironed it. So we'll go ahead and iron this one, just one, and I'll show you how to cut those now. All right, and we're gonna do one more thing. You really don't have to do this if you don't want to, but these should be just about 2.5 inches right now. I'm gonna iron one of these other ones for you. And then we're going to go back to that cutting table, and I'm going to show you how to square them up. Okay. Okay, so there's one of each one done. I'll leave those there, and we'll go over here and square up. All right, the easiest way that I find to do this is all of our rulers, at least most of them, I do have a couple that don't have a 45-degree angle on them. So I'm going to use that 45-degree angle on my sewing line and my 2.5-inch marks, and I'm going to lay it on there and find that I don't need to trim that one up. It's perfect. Let's look at this one. Okay, this one actually needs just a bit of a sliver trim right at the top there, and it's done as well. So then we have our perfect half square triangles there. Then for these here, our squares, which is on page 2, you just need to cut strips just like we did here and cut those into 28 2.5-inch squares of your background fabric. And that's it for this clue. Thanks, guys. See you next time.